Hello everyone, this is DInfinityX, and welcome back to my Minecraft world. Last night I AFK'd over my Guardian and Squid Farm, or makeshift Squid Farm I should say, and it worked far better than I thought it would. I already took a whole inventory's worth out, but I have two double chests worth of squid ink just from AFKing overnight, so about 10 hours roughly of AFKing, and I managed to get a double chest worth, or two double chests worth. So I think it is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. And if I built up the other three modules, it would probably well exceed what I need as far as Squid Ink goes. So that was very, very exciting to see that I had that much Squid Ink after just one night of AFKing. The downside to that, of course, is that the backlog for my Guardian Farm storage is massive, and I've already let this sit for about an hour before I decided I wanted to record this little intro clip, and it is backed up. I've even crafted a ton of sea lanterns, prismarine bricks, prismarine. I just was trying to craft to clear out the backlog because everything that doesn't end up in this system gets shot out onto the roof right now because I don't know what else to do with it. Because I didn't think I would necessarily overfill this big of a storage system that quickly, but yeah, it is not built for the task of storing an overnight session worth of prismarine or a Guardian Farm collecting, let alone, well, the Squid Ink would be nice if I could just do the Squid Ink. The kind of upside is I also get the Guardian spawns, but it is what it is. I'll figure out something later on. All right, since I recorded those first two clips, those were recorded on Monday. It is now Friday night, essentially. I have completely blown through my target time of doing the video on Friday, so that's not going to happen. And it is very loud in here. So, the few things that I got done was I managed to put a dirt path up the mountain, kind of. I kind of set out the outer border of the path here, which really it wasn't all that spectacular or fun. Hello. Uh, and that was about it. That's pretty much all I did this week. Work just kind of took it out of me. I wasn't able to get anything that I wanted to do done. I sat over here and contemplated what I was going to do with this once it was all said and done. I ran a bunch of tests, but that was about it. Now, as far as the tests go, well, it's not even close to being finished, but this was one night. Like, all of these chests were just one night of sitting up there in AFKing, and within the 10 or so minutes that it runs during the night, I was getting about 960 drops for every 10 minutes. So, I mean, it has the potential to do upwards of almost, what is that, 5,500 drops an hour, which is obviously extremely good for, what I'm using it for. So I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to kind of discuss what I want to do. So I think the 7 layers I have now are good. I'm going to do just one more layer to kind of round out the mob spawning thing. At first I was going to bring it all the way up here, but that's just ridiculous and overkill, and this thing's only ever going to spawn 72 mobs at once unless my kids are over here with AFKing with me overnight, so it's not worth it to build anymore. So I want to do one more layer, but then I want to do some farms on top of it. So I was thinking on each one of these sides, I have to work out a good design, but I want to put a sugarcane, pumpkin, melon, and cactus farm going up a few more layers that are going to just drop this items into the system and push it off to where it needs to go. Now, I have some other ideas. Hey, she got her cape working. We both migrated our accounts to Microsoft, so we both got capes finally. I've only been playing this game for over a decade and finally have a cape. So anyway, I've got some ideas for farms I want to put in these little areas right here. And I just flew down and realized I probably should have stayed up there. But I'm working on the outside edge of how these are going to look, because these areas right here are going to be the iron spawning spaces. I'm trying to think. The golem spawning spaces that are going to fall down, fall into a water lava trap, and push the items into here, so we'll get a constant supply of iron falling down here. Now, the biggest thing with this is I have to figure out what I'm going to do with all of the resources. And the thing that I've kind of come up with that I want to do, and it's going to be quite the undertaking, is that I want to have all of them go different places through tunnels, tubes, whatever I can think of. I want to have a crafting zone, which is honestly probably going to be right here. It may be higher up, so that I can keep the farm activated while I am crafting stuff. So like the melons will get put into there to be crafted into the melon blocks. The bones will go in there to get crafted into bone meal, to go into farms that will use bone meal, like the moss farm over there, because I think the moss farm should fit in this blueprint. And I should be able to build at least one or two of them and have them toggleable so that I can turn them on or turn them off, so I can get moss blocks whenever I need them. But I also have... I want to do the 2 tall flowers. I want to have switches for them so that I can turn them on and get flowers. I want to do sea pickle farm, because that's heavily reliant on bone meal. But all of those will fall, or all the craftable stuff will come up here and go into crafting zone, where I can just pull it out, craft it, throw it in another chest so it can be sent further down into the system. Rotten flesh, stuff like that, tradable goods are going to come up, and I'm going to build a very massive trading hall at the top of this center right here. I want to have at least 4 rows of trader or villager trading stations. So I want, librarians, farmers, clerics, and all of that to go, and probably masons. I haven't decided on this last row yet. It may be just kind of a hodgepodge of all of them. But that's the goal for up there. Just above the spawning platform is going to be the villager trading hall. And I'm probably going to drop this down just a few blocks and just light up the surrounding area so that I can have the villager hall still within effective range of this, because if I'm at the villager hall, I want to be able to continuously spawn stuff. And I also want... I seem to have garnered a lot of attention from my daughter here. But I want everything to still work while I'm working on like villager trades or anything like that. So I'm probably going to drop this down like 3 blocks, and this will be the layer that the villager trading hall's on. And then I'm going to have chests above the villagers that are going to store all the pumpkins, melons, all of that stuff. And then everything else that I don't want stored is going to go either to a different store or into the mountain storage over there. And I was thinking about it, and I want to do a bone meal station or store or building that takes excess of like the moss blocks, all of that, and converts it into bone meal, which then gets fed back into the system and powers the bone meal farms, and then the excess goes into storage or into crafting to get turned into white dye, that type of stuff. And I also want a rocket station which is probably honestly going to be either somewhere down the line here or in the mountain itself, where I can fly in and it's going to be filled with sugarcane and gunpowder, so I can just make up rockets as I need, and then anything excess. Basically, I want this to divert resources to various other buildings around, and then whatever left over is going to get thrown into the mountain, and then whatever left over after that is just probably going to get burned, because there's very little reason to keep it around otherwise. So I'm going to work on the last layer of this, then I'm going to build up the I've just lost my words. The 4 farms that I talked about, and we'll see where we go from there. All right, so last night was quite a busy night for me. I'm thinking this video is going to come out today, Saturday, probably in the next few hours. So let me go over what I've done. Obviously, I'm standing by this new azalea farm done by Rayworks. I will link the video in the description. But it produces a massive amount of oak logs, sticks, and other stuff that I'm composting down to bone meal, because this thing chews through bone meal like no one's business. Oh, I've fallen in a hole. So the basic premise of this is it keeps bone mealing a moss block down there till it gets a tree. Tree grows up, TNT blows up the tree, and the cycle repeats itself. From what I saw on the video, this uses a double chest of bone meal an hour, which is quite hungry, but I needed it for what was going on over here. Because last night I also finished building up all the walls to this little mob farm over here that I was building. So, as you can see, I did the extra layer. I capped it off so that the rates would go up. And then I built up the walls. And the reason I built up the walls was I wanted to see how much space I would have in order to see what farms I could put in here. Now, this is obviously a whole lot bigger than I was, for some reason, anticipating. Even though I knew it was tall, this is way, way more room than I thought I was going to need. And this thing is ridiculously efficient at the stuff I don't want, not so efficient at the stuff I want, which I kind of expected. But I am going to put in a sugarcane, melon, pumpkin, and cactus farm, but I'm going to have to figure out some other things to do. And I'm going to break my way in here just so I can give you an idea of how things change when you're going through this. So at first, I was going to leave these spaces open so that I could just drop the items down into this water stream that was already there. But that would have meant that I would have had to have likely done the cactus farm, left the cactus farm open because it doesn't require light, or it might. I'm not 100% on that one. And then all the rest of them were going to have to funnel into it, and it was going to be a mess. Before I realized I can just make everything go this way and fall into the center of there and be collected by the main system down there. And I just realized this is going to be a challenge for me to get out. Maybe not. So yeah, that's where that's going right now. Now, as for the drops, I sat here in AFK'd overnight, so about 10 hours, give or take. I built up a simple little storage system here, and I've gotten full everything that you would expect except string. String is the one that is not coming in as fast as, say, gunpowder or anything else, despite the ridiculous amount of spiders I get. Now, I did get 38 redstone overnight, which is kind of what I was looking for, and obviously I know it's not going to be that efficient considering this isn't over a witch hut or anything like that, so that's understandable. Glowstone I got a little over 34, bottles 32, sugar. This is chicken, which I have gotten some, but not a ton. Spider eyes, and then sticks. And then everything else is being dispensed into the ground right here because I was too lazy to get a little bit of lava and burn it. So it's just sitting in that little hole right there. But yeah, I have some thoughts on what I want to do for... I completely messed that up. For what I want to do with this storage system. So for the rotten flesh, it's going to go into the trading hall just above the clerics, and then the rest of it's just going to get discarded because the rotten flesh just it's not worth anything. I can use it to trade with the clerics for some emeralds and everything, and that's fine, but that's about the usefulness of that. Arrows are likely going to be stored in a storage or bulk storage for a little bit. Probably not a lot, because realistically, there's not that big of a need for more than a couple double chests worth of arrows. Bones are going to be probably the most useful, and I'm going to have them come into the crafting center to be crafted into bone meal, which is going to feed the bone meal farms. And then what's ever left is going to be converted into bone blocks and thrown in to go into deep storage. And that should solve bones. Gunpowder is obviously useful for TNT, rockets, that sort of thing. String, I haven't decided yet. I mean, I'm going to build a sheep farm at some point, or I might just let my daughter's sheep farm do the work there. But outside of scaffolding and bows and stuff like that, string really isn't that useful. So I'll keep a few double chests, and the rest is just going to go. As far as the other precious stuff like redstone, glowstone, bottles, all that, those will all be useful. The bottles especially, I'm going to throw into a system for bees. So I'll probably do a bee farm up on some of these layers, just because their resources are useful, especially the honeycombs for candles and whatnot, and then obviously the honey blocks themselves. Chickens, I'll probably put a chicken farm in here as well, just so that I can get the chicken drops and everything and do all of that. Feathers I can use for to sell to Fletchers, but I'm not that bothered by it. So probably a couple double chests and then it's discarded. Same with the sticks. I'll keep some sticks in storage, but more or less they'll all get discarded. The only blocks I'm really keen to keep are grass, dirt, stone, obviously, because I'm going to use a ton of stone. There's a lot that's going to go into I want to keep a ton of, and I'll probably build a shulker loaders around. But other than that, yeah, I just want this to be self-sufficient, but I don't want to overcreate and just have a bunch of stuff like I have in the past where I'm never going to use it. Like, the only reason I've even come close to using any of the bone blocks from my original mob farm is because I've been feeding this tree farm to build up the outside walls of the building over there. And even then, I've barely dented what's underneath there. It'd be even better if I had bone blocks, which is why I want to convert that. I'm moving around a ton. Convert stuff to bone meal and then feed bone meal into things. But I think that's going to do it for this episode, more or less. I really didn't get too much done. I want to work on the farms in there and come up with a good idea for how I want to do the sugarcane drops. That's something that I haven't really considered, because realistically, this farm right here is good for what it is. I mean, I've got a ton of sugarcane in here, as well as skeleton drops for some reason. This farm does what it needs to do and does it well, and this is only 32. I'm considering doing like a ton of these. Similar style where it just like this, but they pop off into the water. And I don't care if it loses. I don't even care if it loses half of what it produces, because even this farm, which is 32, overproduces. I say overproduces. I haven't been over here in a while, but yeah, I'm guessing the pumpkins are completely full. All three of these are completely full of pumpkins. I've got my thing in there is completely full of pumpkins. I'm not using pumpkins nearly as much as I need to. Melons were the one I was kind of getting stuck on because I wanted to have both, but yeah, the farm over there is going to be ridiculous. and it's going to produce way more than I will ever feasibly use, but that's kind of the point. Everything else is just going to get deleted. Same with sweet berries. I thought, oh, I'll have a sweet berry farm that leads to butchers that can sell for stuff, but it's full. I've turned it off because the minecarts are loud. I just want to, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But I think what I'm going to do in the interim before the next episode is work on some of those farms, get them up and going, try and get a decent idea for how I'm going to do the collection system and all that. So until then, this was DInfinity X. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Oh, and since this is coming out on Saturday, tonight at 9 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 11 Eastern, 7 Western, me and my brother and his friend Kirk are going to be doing our podcast over on Fused Relativity on Twitch. So come check us out if you want to see it. If not, it'll be on our YouTube or on the Fused Relativity YouTube on Monday. But have a good one.